I was fixing my wedding gown, while my fiancé was intimate with my sister just a wall away. They thought they took everything from me. What they didn't know, I was about to take everything back, with a man powerful enough to destroy them. Jacob's text, who was Susan's fiancé, appeared on Susan's phone just before noon. "See you at the bridal store." Susan read it twice. For weeks, Jacob had been distant in ways she couldn't quite explain. Conversations that once came easily now ended quickly. Plans kept shifting. Whenever she asked if something was wrong, he brushed it aside with an easy smile and a vague excuse that somehow always felt just enough to satisfy her. But seeing his message now, unexpected, warm, simple, made something loosen inside her. She typed back immediately, "I'll be there soon." In her excitement, she didn't notice the message hadn't been delivered. She was already moving, freshening up her makeup, fixing her hair, grabbing her bag. The boutique was quiet and elegant. Rows of gowns glowed softly under warm light. Susan stepped into it completely. Ivory satin, lace sleeves, silk trains, dress after dress. Jacob wasn't there yet. It didn't matter. For the first time in weeks, she felt genuinely, unexpectedly happy. The 7th dress was the one. She knew it the moment she stepped into it. The fabric settled perfectly. She clipped the veil into her hair and turned slowly to face the mirror. She stood there alone in the quiet of that small room, looking at the woman looking back at her. That was when she heard them, from the fitting room right next to hers, separated by nothing but a thin wall. Jacob's voice, and then a laugh she had known her entire life. "Oh, Sophia, I texted your sister by mistake," Jacob said, casual and unbothered. Sophia laughed softly. "Jacob, as much as I love sneaking around with you, you don't have to worry about any of that anymore." Jacob's voice shifted. "What do you mean?" "I just got a message from Dad," Sophia said. A pause. "The shares. 80% of the Drew Corporation shares, they're officially in my name now." "Are you serious?" Jacob's voice jumped. "Sophia, are you actually serious right now?" "Every word," she said, laughing. "Oh my God." He laughed loud and free, the laugh of a man who had been waiting a long time for this moment. Come here right now. We need to celebrate." "And Susan?" Sophia asked, almost as an afterthought. Jacob scoffed lightly. "Forget about Susan. Tonight is about you. Kiss me already." Everything rearranged itself in an instant. The distance, the unanswered calls, the evenings Jacob had seemed somewhere else even when he was right beside her. He hadn't been pulling away. He had been here, with Sophia. While Susan had been planning a wedding he was never going to show up to, building a company he was always planning to take. In one afternoon, she had lost everything. Her fiancé, her sister, and the company she had given years of her life to. She looked at herself in the mirror one last time. The air outside hit her harder than she expected. Her hands were steady, her face was still. But somewhere underneath all of that, something was breaking in a way she didn't yet have words for. She pulled out her phone and called Helen. Helen answered immediately. "Susan, I need you," Susan said. "Right now." Helen didn't ask questions. "Nexus Bar, now. I'm already on my way." By the time Helen walked in, Susan was already there. Helen came straight to her, sat down and looked at her face carefully. "What happened?" "Jacob," she said quietly. "And Sophia." Helen frowned. "What about them?" "I caught them together in the boutique, the fitting room next to mine." She paused. "And the shares. My father transferred everything to Sophia. The company I spent years building. It's all in her name now." Helen was very still. Then she exhaled slowly, shaking her head. "That man never deserved a single day of you," she said. "Not one." Susan gave a hollow laugh. "In one afternoon I lost everything." "No," Helen said firmly, leaning forward. "You didn't lose anything. You just finally saw the truth." She held Susan's gaze. "And that is worth more than all of it." Susan looked away. Then the energy in the bar shifted. It happened quickly and without announcement. The bar manager looked down at his phone, straightened immediately, and leaned toward the nearest waiter. "He is here," he said under his breath. Within seconds, the room changed. Staff moved quietly but with purpose. The manager adjusted his jacket and walked briskly toward the entrance. Conversations dimmed, heads turned. Susan noticed it instantly. "What's going on?" The door opened. He wasn't loud. He made no gesture He simply entered and somehow, effortlessly, the room reorganized itself around him. The manager reached him first, almost flustered, the kind of deference reserved for people who exist on a completely different level. Susan couldn't look away. The man stood apart from the crowd, phone pressed to his ear, jaw tight with barely controlled frustration. "What do you want me to do?" he said sharply. "Marry some random woman off the street? You think just because you're my grandfather you get to decide who I marry?" Susan went still. He was tall, commanding, sharply dressed in a way that didn't try too hard. The kind of man who filled a room without meaning to, not because he was loud, but because everything about him was certain. His jaw was tight with frustration, but even angry, he carried himself with a quiet authority that Jacob never had. Not even close. Susan found herself staring. He cut the call and turned to the man standing quietly beside him. "Find me a bride by the end of tonight," he said, low and firm. "If I don't have one, my grandfather wins. I will not let that happen." "Who is that?" Susan asked quietly. Helen's gaze followed. "I know him. I've seen that guy before. He's Jacob's cousin." Susan's eyes sharpened. "Are you sure?" Helen looked back at him. A flicker of something uncertain crossed her face, there and gone in an instant. "Yes," she said. "I'm sure." But her eyes didn't quite hold it. "He owns 25% of the Smith family company shares," Helen continued, her voice dropping lower. "Runs his own firm overseas on top of that. Built everything himself. Nothing handed to him, nothing borrowed." She paused. Jacob always acted like the powerful one. But his cousin. She shook her head. Jacob is a shadow compared to him. Susan looked back at him. He was still sitting exactly as he had been, drink in hand, still, contained, like a man who had never once needed anyone else's approval to feel certain of himself. Jacob had chosen Sophia for power, but the man sitting alone at the end of that bar had more of it than Jacob would ever come close to. A thought settled in Susan's mind, quiet and deliberate. "What if I married him?" she said. Helen blinked. "Are you serious? Imagine their faces. Jacob, Sophia, the moment they find out." Helen stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, something fierce and certain crossed her face. "You know what?" she said. "Go. Any man would be lucky to have you." Susan checked her reflection quickly in the back of her phone, fixed her lipstick. Then she stood up and walked straight toward him. The handsome stranger, Ethan. Ethan looked up as she approached. He didn't seem surprised. He simply watched her, calm, unhurried, the way he seemed to do everything. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she said. Ethan studied her for a moment. His expression gave nothing away. "My name is Susan," she said, meeting his gaze directly, "and I have a proposal for you." "Why did you approach me?" Ethan asked. "Do you know who I am?" "You are Jacob's cousin, if I'm not wrong." The man smiled like a devil and spoke only a word. "Ethan." Susan's eyes widened. "So are you here looking for a bride, Ethan?" she asked, her eyes tracing his striking features. "Or have you already found someone interesting?" Ethan scoffed. "None of the young women in here shall be my wife. They're all like matching dolls in a set." Susan said, "I am unlike any of them. You can make me your trophy wife since I'm no longer with Jacob." "Jacob Smith?" Ethan repeated. "You better be careful. He's not the man he pretends to be." Susan wasn't shocked at the revelation. "I know, I just found that out. What choice do I have, Ethan? I can't escape my fate unless..." She paused. "Unless what?" Ethan questioned, but he wasn't ready for what Susan was about to propose. "Unless you were to marry me instead," Susan replied. "What?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "It's only been 10 minutes and you already think I'm in love with you." "I am not looking for love, Ethan," Susan said, her voice steady. "I am looking for a way out." "But so are you." Ethan was surprised. "You think you know me that well?" Susan added. "See, I know your grandfather wants you to marry soon. For a man with no interest in romance, I might be your best option. I'll live like a shadow in your home, silent, unseen, tending to your needs. And I promise, I'll never love you." Ethan chuckled. "No strings attached. How can I trust you? What about a contract?" Susan proposed. She was desperate to convince him. It would be the perfect way to get revenge on her evil sister and Jacob. "A contract marriage?" Ethan repeated as he considered Susan's proposal. "Did your father set this up?" he asked, his tone skeptical. "My father has no idea that I am out here speaking to you, Ethan. He won't be pleased to see you here with me. Susan replied honestly. Ethan studied her for a moment. Susan continued, I am not interested in marrying anyone for love. I only wish to leave this place and never look back. Why don't you just run away? Ethan suggested. Susan said, How long can a woman remain alone without the protection of a strong man? The world respects power, not independence. Well, Susan, I am spoken of as the most eligible bachelor in town, Ethan said mockingly, his words dripping with pride. Why should I marry you? Susan's lips curled as she replied, I do not care for your looks, Ethan, nor your money or anything else others might want. Frankly, I only see you as an escape, she explained. This will be your way out of your problem with your grandfather, a win-win situation for both of us. Is that so? Ethan said, intrigued. It isn't hard for me to find an actress to play the role of my wife. If it were so easy, you would have done so already, Susan countered, seeing through his bluff. Your grandfather is toying with you. Present me to him as your bride, and the tables would turn. Ethan smirked. I can't wait to see my grandfather's reaction when he has to bless you by kissing your forehead. He knows everything about what's happening in Drew Corporation and your fallen status in the company. It'll be priceless to watch him squirm like that. So, should I consider it a deal? Ethan watched her for a moment before responding. Meet me at a restaurant tomorrow. I'll text you the details. We will further discuss this there, and then I will give you my answer. Not long after Susan sat with Helen in a quieter corner of the venue. Helen pushed 2 glasses across the table, the ice clinking softly. Drink, she said firmly. Doctor's orders. Susan stared at the amber liquid like it might bite her. I don't need alcohol. That's what everyone says right before they do, Helen replied, already lifting her own glass. Susan gave a weak smile and took a sip. The burn slid down her throat, warm and sharp. Helen leaned back, crossing her arms. So, Jacob's cousin? Susan nearly choked. What about him? She asked too quickly. Helen squinted. He didn't even deny it. Interesting. There's nothing to deny, Susan said, setting the glass down carefully. We just talked. Uh-huh. People don't look like they're about to flee a crime scene after just talking. Helen tilted her head. Also, he has the kind of face men are born with when the universe is unfair. Susan snorted despite herself. He's not that handsome. Oh, come on, Helen scoffed. He's tall, broad-shouldered, and looks like he hasn't smiled since childhood trauma. That's prime market value. Susan laughed softly, then fell quiet. Helen noticed immediately. Helen sighed sympathetically. Don't think about him. Honestly, now that I've seen him properly, he's not even that handsome, and he's way too tall. She rambled on, trying to distract her. Suddenly, Susan shook her head. No, she said softly. He wants to meet me tomorrow. He wants to talk about the terms of our marriage. Helen froze, then burst into laughter. Congratulations! You'll be Jacob's cousin-in-law. Susan blinked, finally snapping back to reality. Do you think he'll really marry me? She asked softly. Helen pinched her cheek. Why wouldn't he? If I were a man, I'd fall in love with you at first sight. Come on, let's go to my place and escape from here. The following morning at Helen's house, Susan, who was deep asleep, was woken by the noise outside. Just as she opened her eyes, she saw Jacob opening the door and striding into her room. Helen, who followed him into the room, roared, "This is my house! You're basically invading my home." Sure enough, you're here. Jacob stared keenly at Susan, who had bloodshot eyes and slightly messy hair. Susan became wide awake at that moment, her eyes expressing dejection. The two of you should have a good chat. It hasn't been easy being together for so many years. After some thought, Helen turned around and left, closing the door behind her. The room was silent. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Jacob stretched out his hand to touch her hair. With a scornful look, Susan dodged away from his hand. Does Sophia know that you're here? Jacob's handsome face froze. Then he clenched his fist. Susan, you know that the Drew family has decided to give Sophia 80% of the company's shares. I don't believe anything you say anymore, Jacob. Just like your messages. You wanted me at the wedding gown fitting. But even that was meant for Sophia, right? Jacob gripped her hands. This is just temporary. As you know, my dad has an illegitimate son. If I don't do this, I wouldn't even be able to compete. Susan, I just want to provide you with a good life. Bullshit. Susan snatched her hand out of his grasp and threw insults at him. You're only 25 years old. Even if you don't get any inheritance from your family, can't you just start your own business? You're too naive. Jacob stood up slowly, hiding the emotions in his eyes. He said helplessly, "It's not in our power to choose certain things due to our background." Susan looked cold without uttering a word as she found it unreasonable. Amid the silence, Jacob sighed softly. "Give me a few years, Susan. You're still young, you can afford to wait." Susan nearly went mad. How dare he say such things in a self-righteous manner, when he only wanted to make her keep her youth for him? "You're treating me as a fool, aren't you? You've chosen to be engaged to Sophia for the suck of your career. Who knows whether you'll marry him a few years later? Please get out of my face, I don't want to see you anymore." Jacob's expression remained calm, but his eyes revealed a deep affection and an unmistakable longing. "Time will show my love for you. You can be upset with me, but don't go out and drown your sorrows with alcohol. It's not good for your health." Since Susan was not going along with what he said, he merely advised her before he turned around and left. Upon hearing the door shut, Susan flung a pillow to the wall with reddened eyes and spent a few seconds sitting still. After that, she frantically put on her shirt and dashed out. "He's left. What's the point of going after him?" Helen quickly stopped her. Susan took a deep breath, then gnashed her teeth. "I agreed to meet Ethan at 10 a.m. "You actually believe him?" Helen asked. "Didn't you say you believed him last night?" Susan was confused at Helen's question. Susan shot her a frustrated look. Helen laughed awkwardly and scratched the back of her head. "That's just because I drank too much last night." "What if he's serious about it?" Susan snapped, pushing Helen aside as she bolted out of the apartment. Susan flagged down a taxi, her heart pounding as she climbed in. "The Drew family mansion," she told the driver, her voice firm but tense. Back at Drew Mansion, Susan rushed inside her room, brimming with anticipation as she got ready to meet Ethan. Suddenly, her eyes fell on the many documents her father had prepared for her after she came back from her business meeting in Paris. She didn't feel the urge to open them until now. A sudden wave of curiosity hit her, and she quickly opened one. Inside were documents like voting proxies for her company shares. "Why would my father prepare such documents for me to sign?" she muttered, confused. With growing unease, she ripped open the remaining packages, only to find documents she never could have imagined, not even in her darkest dreams. An agreement that strips her of all assets, contracts giving Sophia power of attorney over her affairs, and papers removing her from her father's company board. Perhaps this was their plan after Grandpa died, she whispered to herself. Her thoughts drifted to the things he had quietly given her. Never loudly, never for show. He had sent her abroad for her first independent project when no one else trusted her. He had insisted she attend negotiations instead of being kept on the sidelines. And on her 21st birthday, he had gifted her a small but decisive share in the company, telling her it was for when you need to stand on your own. As long as he was alive, she had never felt expendable. Now he's gone. Susan's father was hinting at his perversions, making her sign these documents without offering an explanation. Till now, I was blindly signing the documents offered by him, thinking that he was only building a safe nest for me. She gulped down the sorrow. He's planning to hurt me, rip me off my powers in the company. All for Sophia. She sighed deeply. I must get a marriage contract with Ethan done soon. He is my only way out of this impending misery. Once they signed the marriage contract, Susan would automatically gain the power to compete with Drew Corporation head-on and take revenge. She couldn't wait for her life to change. At the same time, Ethan waited at the restaurant, seated in a private room he had reserved. His gaze lingered on the door, expecting Susan. Instead, Felix, his secretary, walked in. "Sir, your drink is here." Ethan turned. "Should I place an order for your guests?" Felix asked. "I'm honestly not sure." "I hope a woman won't turn down my invitation," Ethan said anxiously. "A woman visiting?" Felix said, surprised. Ethan frowned. "Not any random woman, she might become my wife." "What?" Felix said, surprised. Ethan stared at him unamused. "Why are you acting like it's such a surprise I would get a wife?" Felix recollected himself. "Your exact words when your grandfather suggested you marry were, 'I am never fucking getting married. I would rather jump from the roof and die.'" "Maybe I misinterpreted those words. I apologize. Felix, I am not interested in marriage. but the woman I met last night was intriguing. A perfect way to piss off my grandfather and ward off some people from around me. I do not understand, Felix said. It will be self-explanatory if she arrives today. Check at the entrance if a Drew steps in. Bring her to me, Ethan added. Drew? Please tell me it's not Sophia, Felix asked softly. No, the other daughter. Sophia Drew is the elder one, Ethan said. Thank goodness, Felix sighed in relief. You are aware of the rumors concerning Susan, right? Ethan asked. Anyone is better than Sophia in my book. If Sophia were to become your wife, I would jump out of the window and die. Ethan chuckled on hearing this. Felix added, I have never seen her approach men except for business pursuits. I'm not so sure she will arrive for such an arrangement. Felix, Ethan said coldly, start preparing to bankrupt the Drew Corporation. If that woman doesn't show up, I want them to bleed in the market. Understood, sir, Felix replied calmly. I'll deploy our finance team to California. They won't even see it coming. Back at the Drew mansion, just as Susan was about to leave, she was stopped by her father, Noah Drew. Susan, Noah said, inching closer. Can you tell me what happened between you and Ethan last night? My associate saw you guys together at the bar. You know you shouldn't talk about our company matters with him. That man is not to be trusted. What did you talk about? Susan kept her head down. Nothing much. He was just offering me a drink. Still, you shouldn't have interacted with him. What if you leaked some details about our business in the process? Noah scolded. I'm sorry, Father, Susan replied. Then she remembered that she needed to meet Ethan. She said, Dad, I have to meet someone for our next project. I'm leaving. Okay, Susan, Noah agreed. Promise me that you will help your sister sail through company processes easily. She has already been through a lot. I promise, Susan rolled her eyes, frustration bubbling up. Susan excitedly drove the car to the restaurant that Ethan had mentioned in a message. She entered the restaurant and scanned through it, awestruck by its grandeur. Good morning. I have a reservation under the name, Ethan? She asked the restaurant manager at the entrance. The restaurant manager checked his book of reservations and said, Please follow me, miss. After a moment, she came in front of a private room where Felix stood waiting for her. Welcome, Miss Susan Drew. Mr. Ethan is expecting you, Felix greeted her. Good morning. It's nice to meet you, Susan said, offering a handshake. Felix shook her hand happily. Please enter this door. He is waiting for you, Felix said, knocking on the door and opening it for Susan. The door closed behind her, and she felt her heart skip a beat. I wasn't expecting you to show up, but now that you did, please have a seat, Ethan said, sitting at his desk, watching her every move. I don't make false promises in business. I show up when I say I will. Susan responded without thinking. Ethan raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise crossing his face before amusement settled in. His next question stunned her. Did you inform Mr. Drew about our meeting? Susan sat down, carefully considering her words. I'm not working with my father. He would never let me meet with a man like you, whether in private or public. He'd call me a traitor for even striking a deal with another family. Does your father hate you? Ethan asked bluntly. Susan hesitated before answering. I don't think he hates me. He is just more protective of Sophia than me. It's a parent's job to love and protect all their children equally, no matter what. It's a shame you were born a Drew's daughter, Ethan remarked. Tell me something. I know you have conquered the world, but how the hell did you end up so powerless in your own family business? Whatever you're hiding, it's because you're a Drew's daughter, right? High society is quite competitive, Ethan interrupted. Yes, Susan admitted. Someone must have been really jealous of your success, Susan. Anyway, let's get to the point now. Let's say I believe this marriage is all you're planning, and your father isn't involved. Why would someone like me, who's lived in hiding, want to marry someone like you in the spotlight? Truthfully, I never pictured someone as grand as you to come across when I was thinking about an escape plan. I thought we'd be a good match considering your family status and the connection to my family. I've considered two things about you. First, you're private, so I wouldn't need to mingle much. And second, given your status, you can control my family, Susan explained. Ethan raised an eyebrow. I like to keep to myself, but there are parties I must attend. Am I to show up without my wife? It would be boring if you hid all the time. You misunderstand, Ethan. I never hide because I want to. My priorities have been business meetings rather than socializing with the fishwives of friction. I'd love to go out, attend parties, and dance. I have a lot of experience and confidence to mingle with the who's who of town, Susan said earnestly. Ethan hummed thoughtfully. A week ago, I wouldn't have entertained this conversation, but now I'm in the mood to play games. He placed a piece of paper on the table. What is this? Susan asked as she looked at the paper with a large W Corporation logo in the corner. W? Susan thought, what does that stand for? A contract marriage needs to have rules and conditions, right? Ethan pushed the paper and a pen toward her. No love shall be the first condition. It won't be a problem on my end. Susan spoke first. I hope you stay like this until the end, Ethan replied. You're not my type, Ethan, Susan said bluntly. Oh, so there is a type, Ethan mused. Of course. I was quite in demand back then. I've seen rich and handsome men lurking around me. What should the second condition be? Susan asked. My second condition? Speak of this to no one besides my secretary, Felix. He'll be a shield for you in dangerous times. I must ask that I keep working in Drew Corporation till I can, Susan said. That's your business. Do as you wish, Ethan said. Susan continued with the next condition. Third, we must sleep in the same room. He paused and looked at Susan's face. Why are you surprised? Did you think I wouldn't sleep with my husband? She asked. Ethan rolled his eyes. I don't think that's necessary. Everyone does it. Young or old, Susan said brazenly. How young? Ethan asked, misunderstanding. Susan smirked. Sleeping, Ethan. I was referring to just sleeping. But if you wish for something more. No, we will sleep in separate bedrooms, Ethan said quickly, embarrassed. Susan asked, Fine. Is there anything else? No, we've covered the basics. Anything else can be handled with communication. Sign it, Ethan said. Don't you want to add a punishment for breaking the contract? We haven't set a timeline either, Susan pointed out. The main thing is not to tell others about it. If it gets out, it'll hurt you more than me. Lastly, we'll be married for a few years. Add that to the contract, Ethan said. A thought popped into his mind. A few years might be enough to destroy everything the Drews have. For a few years, Susan muttered in disbelief. This is nothing more than a contract marriage. We'll stay together for a few years, and if it doesn't work out, we'll part ways. Don't worry. I'll make sure you're well compensated. You'll have more than enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life, Ethan said with a grin. At some point, you'll need an heir, Susan said, doubt creeping in. No, I don't need one. And if at all I need one, we will prepare a separate contract for that. All the conditions will be different then. Ethan was stunned at how bold her demands were. Do you mind me having your child? Susan asked with a smirk. That's not what either of us signed up for. Let's stay focused on what this partnership actually is, Ethan said. Susan nodded. Cool. We can carry on with the contract, Ethan. She started to sign her name. Susan was finally relieved that she was in safe hands. Sure, he's cold and mean, but he's not heartless, Susan thought. A flicker of determination crossed her face. I can definitely make him fall for me. Her dreamland was interrupted by Ethan's cold voice. I'll hide the contract somewhere safe. And your father, mother, and sister won't gain entry to my home or my company after we're married, Ethan said bluntly. Done. I look forward to being married to you, Susan replied. I must leave now. Okay. See you tomorrow at the wedding hall at 10 a.m. Don't forget to carry your birth certificate, Ethan said, standing. Susan turned to face Ethan one last time. Thank you, she said softly, her voice barely steady. Ethan gave a curt nod, his expression unreadable. As Susan stepped out of the private room, she felt a mix of fear and determination flooding through her. Tomorrow, I'm really doing this. I am marrying Jacob's cousin. Yes, I am getting out of that hell, that gloomy Drew mansion. Susan sped off in her car, her mind still spinning. She was going to be the daughter-in-law of one of the most powerful families in California's elite business circles, and when her family found out, they'd be furious, especially Sophia, who wanted everything she owned. And then there was the abominable Jacob Smith. He is probably already making plans to torment me, ripping me off of all the powers from the Drew Corporation and snatching the percentage of whatever shares I hold in that company, she thought. They might retaliate once they learn about this new development with Ethan. She could not help but feel anxious about the next day. Her life was in the hands of the powerful Ethan, and she hoped he would free her from her home and help her get her revenge. One thing was sure. After tomorrow, nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, Susan was jolted awake from a deep sleep by the sound of violent banging on her door. "Open the door, you bitch! Vile creature! Shameless slut!" She froze, shocked by the words hurled from outside. It was her mother and sister. Why are they shouting at me? Susan wondered in alarm. Did they find out about the contract? Before she could move, the door burst open. They stormed inside. "How dare you roam around in this mansion like a desperate bitch?" Sophia shouted. "Sophia, what are you talking about?" Susan asked, panicked. Her mother swung her arm. A loud slap cracked across Susan's left cheek, making her stumble back light-headed. "Don't ever call me your mother." Her mother yanked her by the hair and dragged her out of bed, still in her nightdress. Then she slapped and shouted at her as she stood there, confused and trying to defend herself. Maids gathered outside the door, drawn by the noise. Noah arrived last. "What is going on here?" he demanded. "This daughter of yours is nothing but a walking scandal," her mother hissed. "I warned you to get rid of her before she drags this family through more shame." "How could you speak of me like that, Mum?" Susan shouted. "Stop spreading lies and rumours." "Rumours?" her mother shouted. "Don't play innocent. The maid saw you sneaking into Jacob's room at night." Susan's face froze. "What? That's not true. I would never." Her mother motioned to the side, and a nervous maid stepped forward. Sophia gently said, "Go on. Tell them what you saw." "I saw Miss Susan going in and out of Mr. Jacob's room. Several nights." "Liar, she's lying, Dad." Susan, now on her knees, crawled closer to her father. Noah turned toward the corner of the room. Susan and the others followed his gaze. There stood Jacob. With a sorrowful, whimpering voice, Jacob said, "Forgive me, Mr. Drew, but she forced me to be her sex slave since she returned from Paris. I tried to refuse her, but she threatened to ruin my engagement with Sophia if I didn't comply. I had no choice but to submit to her demands." "Dad, they're lying. This is all fabricated." Her mother stepped forward and slapped Susan hard across the face, sending her crashing to the floor, numb with shock. "Enough," her father finally shouted. "You can't stay here anymore. You've proven to be a shame. You're a threat to our family before your sister's marriage." "Dad, please don't," Susan pleaded to deaf ears. At Noah's command, everyone retreated from the room. Her mother and her sister were the last to leave, their eyes cold as they stared at Susan, who was struggling to stay on her feet. "Where will I go?" Susan pleaded, her voice shaking. Sophia smirked. "You think this is the worst thing that could happen to you? Oh, darling, I have far worse planned." With that, she turned and walked out with her mother. Susan sank to her knees. "I knew no one would believe me," she thought, "and I don't have much time to argue with these idiots. The wedding. Ethan must be on his way. I will deal with my family later. Ethan is the most important person to me today. He'll be waiting for me at the entrance of the wedding hall. I should not be late." Susan quickly hid her birth certificate in her purse and changed into a decent outfit. Then she called for a cab and left for the wedding hall. On the way, Susan thought about everything she had left behind and when things had begun to change. After her grandfather passed, the house was never the same. The warmth disappeared. The people inside it changed. He had been the only one who made her feel safe there, and without him, it stopped feeling like home. She decided not to look back. Instead, she fixed her eyes on the life she was about to begin with Ethan. He was still a stranger. She didn't know his habits, his past, or what kind of husband he would be. But something about him felt familiar, steady, unexpectedly reassuring. Then the taxi slowed. Susan leaned forward, fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. Cars inched along, horns sounding somewhere behind her. She glanced out the window, then at the road ahead. Not now. She checked the time once, then forced herself to stop. Checking again wouldn't make the cars move. "What's going on?" she asked the driver. "Morning rush," he said. "We'll get there." Susan nodded, but her chest felt tight. What if she was late? What if he had already come and gone? She hadn't asked Ethan how long he would wait. She had simply assumed he would be there, because he said he would. The taxi picked up speed. Susan exhaled slowly. She had already chosen this. Turning back wasn't an option. Then the car slowed again and stopped. "We're here," the driver said. Susan got out quickly and paid, barely waiting for her change. The recorder's office loomed ahead, people moving in and out calmly, as if it were just another ordinary morning. She hesitated. Oh God, What if he's not there anymore? What if he didn't wait? She looked down at herself. Rumpled clothes, red eyes, no bouquet, no witnesses. Would he even recognize her as his bride? Susan pushed the thought aside and walked in. Inside, footsteps echoed off the floor. Papers shuffled. Clerks spoke in low voices. Everyone else seemed prepared. Certain. Susan wasn't. She moved through the hall quickly, scanning faces she didn't know, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Near the registration counter, she stopped and took a breath. Is he here? Is Susan running out of time? Will Ethan be waiting, or was she holding on to a hope that was never real? To follow along with every twist and turn of Susan's story, listen to Twist of Love and Revenge.
Install the Pocket FM app now within 1 minute to listen to the first 10 episodes for free. Download now before the offer disappears.